Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into a fascinating breakthrough at the intersection of gaming, AI, and education. We'll be looking at how we can distill open-ended gameplay into validated mastery scores using a system called Agentic Knowledge Tracing. This multi-agent AI architecture was designed for the stealth assessment of financial literacy in serious games, based on groundbreaking research by Gabriel Machado Santos, Rita Maria Silva Julia, and Marcelo Zanqueta do Nascimento from the Federal University of Uberlândia. Let's jump right in. First, let's talk about the core problem, the assessment dilemma. We know that serious games are fantastic for improving financial literacy, but we face a massive challenge when it comes to measuring what players actually learn. If we pause the game to give a standard quiz, we completely break the player's immersion. On the other hand, traditional grading systems just can't make sense of pure, chaotic gameplay logs. You're trying to balance open-ended, contextual gameplay with rigorous, right or wrong assessments. So, our challenge is this: how do we extract validated learning metrics from this unpredictable player behavior without asking a single multiple-choice test question? To solve this, we have to understand why traditional models fail in sandbox environments. Traditional Bayesian knowledge tracing, or BKT, absolutely requires discrete right or wrong tasks and completely misses temporal behavioral shifts. Deep learning models, like DKT, can capture those temporal shifts, but they require massive labeled datasets and offer zero interpretability. It's a black box. That's where Agentic BKT comes in as the ultimate solution. It doesn't need discrete tasks. It works with zero-shot prompting, so no massive labeled datasets are required. It easily captures temporal changes, and it provides high interpretability through natural language reasoning. To put this to the test, the researchers deployed a custom 2D platformer game. This financial sandbox was engineered specifically to generate rich behavioral logs without giving the players explicit instructions. Players encountered real-world financial concepts. They made spending decisions with limited balances, faced risk and reward scenarios like gambling with a negative expected value at a casino, and navigated a financial landscape filled with debt accumulation and interest accrual. This was tested with 193 K-12 students, generating over 15,000 distinct gameplay events across 264 sessions. So, how does the system process all this data? It uses a 4-phase pipeline. Phase 1 is event capture, where it pulls raw game states like balance, debt, and time into JSON format. Phase 2 uses an LLM event classifier, specifically a GPT-4o mini node, to grade events from poor to excellent. Phase 3 is agentic domain tracing, where specialized BKT agents analyze the full session. Finally, Phase 4 is the expert judge synthesis, using a more powerful model to output a final mastery score complete with reasoning. Let's zoom in on those first two phases. Every single action a player takes is logged with full context. For example, the system sees that a player used a credit card for $50. The initial LLM independently classifies this event on a 4-point rubric. It might rate an action as fair and provide the reasoning. The player accessed credit with a low balance, but the interest rate exceeds their expected returns. The incredible part is that this automated classifier achieves human-level agreement. When compared to 3 independent human domain experts, adding the LLM only resulted in a very marginal reduction in overall agreement. But here is why we can't stop at just classifying single events. Imagine an event-level classifier sees a player lose 30 coins at the casino. On its own, that single event gets graded as poor. But single events lack context. If we look at the entire session, we might see that after losing money, the player changes their strategy and starts putting their money into a bank yielding 5% interest. Making mistakes, experiencing negative expected value, and then changing your strategy, that is the ultimate proof of learning. That's why we need agents capable of analyzing the entire behavioral trajectory. That brings us to Phase 3, which is the engine of the operation. Powered by a larger model, the event stream is routed to 4 specialized domain agents aligned with OECD standards. We have agents specifically for risk mitigation, investing, spending, and credit and debt. Each of these specialized agents analyzes the temporal sequence of the player's actions and runs its own independent Bayesian knowledge tracing curve. Once those individual domains are traced, we move to Phase 4, the expert judge synthesis. The expert judge receives all 4 scores and their reasoning traces. Crucially, it doesn't just blindly average them together. It uses contextual weighting. Let's say a student heavily relies on the in-game credit card but completely ignores the bank. The judge dynamically dials up the weight of the credit and debt score while discounting the domains the player didn't exercise. This outputs a highly reliable, synthesized mastery metric. Now for the most important question, does it actually work? The evidence says yes. First, we look at discriminate validity. The system successfully ignores prior knowledge, showing zero correlation with the student's pretest scores. It strictly captures what was learned during gameplay. Second, we see strong convergent validity. The mastery estimates correlate significantly with both actual learning gains and post-test scores. The system is successfully isolating the stealth assessment signal from the noise of gameplay. The true breakthrough here is the multi-agent architecture itself. The researchers tested this against a monolithic baseline, a setup where just a single LLM processed all events into one curve. The results were night and day. The monolithic LLM completely diluted the signal and showed no significant correlation. But by decomposing the assessment into domain-specific agents, the Agentic BKT system tripled the predictive validity. Specialized agents are simply better at capturing the nuance of human behavioral trajectories. Beyond just grading students, this system acts as an incredible diagnostic tool for game designers. By analyzing the data, we can see exactly what mechanics are driving learning. It turns out that credit and debt and spending behaviors were the strongest predictors of actual financial literacy learning, accounting for the vast majority of logged events. Investing, however, showed a ceiling effect, making up only 2.3% of events. This tells designers exactly what they need to fix in future updates, namely, giving players more high-pressure investment scenarios. To wrap up, agentic knowledge tracing represents the future of stealth assessment. It provides us with a reusable, scalable framework for taking wild, open-ended game mechanics and cleanly aligning them with established educational standards. By breaking complex human behavior down into domain-specific, temporal trajectories, we finally have the power to accurately measure student mastery, all without ever breaking their immersion in the game. Thank you for watching.